my name is Margaret Butler. I'm a physiotherapist and Pilates instructor. We're going to begin a simple Matwork session. It should be appropriate for beginners or intermediates, but as always, do take it easy, and if anything doesn't feel right for you, please don't do it. So if you'd like to come into what we call the rest position, you're going to be lying on your back with your knees bent. Make sure you've got enough support for your head. You want to feel as if your face is parallel to the ceiling, so not so many cushions that your chin is raised too much. And then you're going to work from top to toe and think about opening those shoulders, relaxing those shoulder blades into the floor. Just letting those collarbones melt. Think about your ribs being nice and soft. Feel your spine along the floor. Make sure your hips are directly underneath your shoulders, so you've not got one hip higher than the other. And you should have just a tiny little arch in the back. Think about weight bearing equally through your shoulder blades and through your hips. And then you want to try and have your hips, your knees and your feet in a nice parallel line. So do watch out that your feet aren't too close together. And if you struggle with that, you might want to place something like a yoga block or a hardback book between your feet to help you. So once you're in position, we're going to take a few deep breaths again. Try and tune into that idea of the body being nice and relaxed. We're going to take a breath in, and on the next out breath, we're going to gently let one leg slide away, keeping the movement smooth and fluid. Breathing in, and as we breathe out, we'll slide back up again. Let's take a breath in. On the out breath, let's slide the other leg away. Breathing in again, and sliding back to where you started. We'll just repeat that a few more times each side. And as we're doing so, we're trying to keep our pelvis really level, but without tensing any muscles unnecessarily. So we might be able to just detect that deep but gentle core contraction. But hopefully the rest of our body, particularly our neck and shoulders, can remain nice and relaxed. And we're trying to keep that parallel line of the legs. And then we're going to come back to that neutral position. Just scan your body again, check that you still feel like you're in a good position, make any adjustments you need to, check your feet aren't too close together. Take a nice deep breath in again, and this time on the out breath, we'll slowly let one knee drift to the side, trying to keep the other knee as still as possible. So hip twist level 1, and then we'll slowly bring that knee back up to the centre. Breathing in again. As we breathe out, slowly let the other knee go to the side. And slowly come back up again. We're going to repeat that a few more times each side, and as we're doing this, we're trying our best to keep our hips from rolling. So you might want to imagine that you are lying on a paddleboard and you're trying not to rock. Remember to keep the shoulders nice and relaxed. Try not to forget your breathing. Moving on the out breath, keeping the movement nice and smooth and fluid. Let's just do once more each side. Come back to the centre, pause again. Make any adjustments you might feel you need to. Another big breath in, and this time on the out breath, let's draw one leg up to tabletop. So just coming up to that 90-degree angle with the hip and knee. Making sure we work on the out breath. It is a little bit harder work because you're lifting the weight of your leg, but you want to keep the movement nice and gentle. So still just that very gentle core contraction. And perhaps imagine that this is like moonwalking, as if your legs were weightless. Remember to keep that parallel line. So watch for those feet creeping too close together. And make sure also that your neck and shoulders are still nice and relaxed. We'll just do that once more each side. Come down, and then let's just loosen up for a moment, drawing your knees in. Let's hug the knees towards the chest, and just mobilise the bottom of that spine. So we're lifting the tailbone and lowering, gently mobilising, and this is your chance to assess how your back is feeling. And if you are concerned or you have any issues, then obviously take it very gently as we work through the class. Just now, just do a little wiggle side to side with your hips, slightly different motion for the spine. And then let's just slowly circle the knees in one direction, gently massaging that back. And then slowly circle the other way. Draw those knees in tightly. Lift the head if you want to increase that stretch in your back. And if that doesn't feel enough for you, then you might want to take your legs a little bit further over, pulling those knees down towards your chest, aiming to feel that muscular stretch in the bottom of the spine. Let's lower our legs, give them a shake. Reach our arms above us, point our toes and stretch away. Allow your ribs to lift up, just make your body as long as you can and then push through your heels. Spread your toes out. Let's circle the ankles one way, circle the ankles the other way, and slowly circle the arms round, coming back to that rest position where we started. Okay, so that would be a nice simple warm up on the mat. We're going to think about our upper body for a moment now. So we're going to reach up to the ceiling, keeping our arms straight and our fingers nice and long. And we're going to think about our shoulder blades, so maybe just give them a little shuffle. And from that position then, we're going to reach our fingers just a little bit higher towards the ceiling. Feel the shoulder blades glide, and then let those shoulder blades just come back down. Feel them nestling back into the mat. Reach up again with both hands. Feel that glide of the shoulder blades, and nestle them back into the mat. Let's do that a few more times. This is a lovely, simple brain training exercise, helping you remember where your shoulder blades should be, ideally. So we're reinforcing that optimum position. Let's do once more with two arms. And come back. This time just isolate the movement on one side, so reach with one hand and come back down. And then reach with the other hand and come back down. A few more times each side. We tend to get very tense around our shoulder blades, so this is a really nice way to mobilise that joint and keep those muscles nice and supple. Let's clasp our hands together. Be careful if you have shoulder problems. Go gently. We're going to take the arms over the head until we feel a stretch, not forcing anything. And at this point, just try not to let your ribs stick up. So try and keep those ribs down. You'll need to use those muscles in the abdominal area, and then release the hands, circle round. I'm going to place our hands on the top of our thighs. So starting with the shoulders nice and relaxed, we're going to do some preparation now for double tabletop, so we're firing up our upper abdominals. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to gently reach the hands towards the knees, lifting the head, feeling that activity in those upper abdominals, and then slide back down, release the neck and shoulders and relax. Breathe in again. As you breathe out, let's reach up towards the knees, holding that position for a moment and sliding back down. Let those shoulders go. We'll just do that one more time. Sliding up as we breathe out, holding that position and releasing back down again. So feel those shoulders really relax into the floor now, but we're going to engage our abdominals and do some work in double tabletop. So we take a breath in. As we breathe out, we're going to float our first leg to tabletop. We're going to breathe in again, and on that out breath, gently float that second leg without overworking. Breathe in. As you breathe out, lower the first leg down, And then lower that second leg down. Let's do the same leading with the other leg this time. Breathe in, on the out breath, float that first leg. Breathe in, on the out breath, float that second leg. Float the first leg down and the second leg down. So if you're quite new to Pilates, you might want to just repeat that and practice that gentle lifting of the second leg, trying not to let your ribs stick out and keep that moderate contraction in the abdominals. If you're happy with that, then we'll float up again. Breathe in and on the out breath float that second leg. And this time we're going to work on strength and stamina. So we're going to tap down and come back up. Breathing out each time we tap down. And your focus through this exercise should be on the abdominal muscles. You're trying to sustain that same moderate contraction without feeling like you're working too hard. You may find that you're starting to feel the muscles of the lower back tighten a little too much or tension creep into your shoulders. If that's the case, come down, give your legs a little shake, and you might also want to have a little knee hug just to stretch off that back. So if that was okay, we can have a second go with that. So floating up again, really focusing mentally on those upper and lower abdominal muscles, trying to keep the neck and shoulders nice and relaxed. Trying to remember not to forget to breathe. And whenever you're ready, come down, have a little shake, and perhaps a little knee hug. Okay, so that might be enough for you if you're a beginner, but if you are quite practiced in Pilates, you might want to challenge yourselves a little bit more. So just some simple alternatives, floating up again. We can combine with one leg stretch, taking the leg out to that 45-degree angle, coming back in again. Taking the other leg out and coming back in. As we're doing this, we're lengthening the lever, so we're working our abdominals a little bit harder. And it's important that we try to keep that parallel line, just as we did before. Let's do that one more time each side. And lower down, have a little rest. Just one more alternative for now before we move on. If you float up again into that double tabletop position, place your hands on your hips and try and keep your elbows hovering, just so you're not cheating with your arms. We're going to take one knee slowly out to the side, hip twist level 3, come back to the centre and then take the other leg out. So it's really tricky not to roll on your pelvis. Imagine you were doing this on a gymnastic beam. Quite difficult, so don't expect your knee to go too far. And watch out that you're not just transferring that tension to your shoulders. So you might not want to do too many. Come down once again, give your legs a little shake, and hug those knees in. So before we go on now, let's do some hip stretches. We're going to keep it really simple. We're going to put our foot on the opposite knee. And to start with, we're just going to gently open that knee out to the side. Do watch when you're doing this that you're not twisting your pelvis. So you might want to gently press against that knee, but maybe keep the other hand on the other hip and check that you're not just twisting at your hips. So opening one hip, feeling that initial stretch. That might be enough for you, that's fine. But if that feels okay, then reach towards the thigh that's on the floor, take hold of it, bringing your hands through the middle and draw that leg closer to your chest. You should feel a strong stretch in your bottom muscles. And if you want to, you can straighten your knee at this point. Bring your toes down towards you and combine that with a hamstring stretch. Let's lower that foot to the floor, give the legs a little shake, and we'll do the same on the other side. So the foot comes onto the knee, we open that knee to the side. You might want to press gently with your hands, watching that you're not twisting at your pelvis. And then once you've allowed that hip to stretch a little, take hold of the thigh, increase that stretch on the glutes, As always, compare left and right, and if one side feels a bit tighter, then it's always a good idea to practice it a little bit more. Stretch the leg up to the ceiling, bring the toes down, and feel that pull on the hamstrings. Lowering down, giving the legs a little shake, and perhaps another quick knee hug. So coming back to our rest position, we should be ready for some bridging now. So make sure your feet are in a good position again, hip width apart, maybe slightly closer to your bottom at this point. Let's start with our hands on our hips, and we'll make sure we're nice and rolled up by doing some pelvic tilts. So we're going to breathe in and allow that back to arch away from the mat. Breathe out and flatten the back into the mat. Breathe in as we arch, breathe out as we flatten. Let's repeat that a few more times. Each time we're flattening, we're thinking of starting to squeeze our bottom muscles. And we're also thinking about our foot position, preparing to weight bear through the feet. Let's just do that once more. And then after the next one, place your arms by your sides, breathe in, and on the out breath we're going to flatten the back, squeeze the bottom. Slowly lift those hips, rolling through that spine, coming up into a good strong bridge, trying to keep our knees parallel. Breathe in at the top, and as you breathe out, slowly roll down, curling through that spine, and relax again. Breathe in, allow that back to arch. As you breathe out, flatten, push through the floor, squeeze the bottom. Try and make sure those hips are working equally, don't let one hip lead. Come up to the top, feel the work in the glutes and the legs. Breathe in, on the out breath, come down slowly, try to work through each little segment of your spine. And the last thing to come down is the tailbone. Let's do that once more, breathing in, as we breathe out, flattening, slowly rolling up. Holding that good strong bridge, breathing in at the top, and slowly lowering down. Feel free to do a few more, and when you've had enough then, just draw those knees in, loosen that back, and if you want a stronger stretch, lift your head and hold your knees, or perhaps as we did before, take the legs a little bit further over. Hold that stretch a moment longer, and then if you are familiar with my classes, you'll know this position as happy baby. So if you are able to, you want to open your feet a little bit wider and draw your knees down towards your armpits. So you're opening your chest, feeling your shoulder blades press into the floor, and you're opening those hips. If you can, from that position, and bring your feet together into a froggy position, hold your ankles or your shins, and you might want to just gently press with your elbows to feel that stronger stretch in the inner thigh. If it's comfortable for you, then maybe try a gentle rolling in this position. It's quite nice to massage your back. If you release your feet now, hold your knees, and we're just going to do a little wiggle around, imagining you were an insect that was stuck on its back. Loosening up around the pelvis, and in contrast, let's bring the knees together, lift the head and curl into a tight ball, tensing all our muscles, fingers, toes, eyes, nose, holding that tension a moment longer, lowering the tailbone, the head, stretching the arms out, and for a moment, sliding the legs away, and taking a few relaxed breaths. When you're ready, slide your feet back in again. Glue your feet and your knees together. So if you are quite new to this, or your back is playing up at all at the moment, keep your feet on the floor. If you feel confident, and you might want to do this one with your knees close up to your chest. Whichever way, it's the same principle. We're going to glue our shoulder blades into the floor, keep our knees together, take a breath in, and as we breathe out, very slowly roll the legs to one side, making sure we keep our shoulder blades glued down. Hold that position for a moment, breathe in, And on the out breath, drawing in the tummy and the ribs, come back up to the top. Breathe in at the top on the out breath, let the knees go the other way, and you might want to turn your head to the opposite side. Holding that stretch for a moment, drawing in those knees, coming back to the middle. One more time each side, breathing in on the out breath, rotating. Shoulder blades go down, and slowly back up. Breathing in at the top, and once more going the other way. Back to the centre, gently rocking side to side, and let's roll over to face the front. So on your side, you might want to have a little more support for your head. I'm going to swap to the larger cushion. You want to make sure that your head is supported and you don't feel like you're just dropping down. So knees are bent, arms are stretched out, palms are together. We're going to take a breath in and open that top arm up to the ceiling. And as we breathe out, try and twist our body as far as we can. Breathe in again, coming up, and breathe out and come down. Breathe in as we float back up, and breathe out as we come down. Back up again to the ceiling and back down. Let's just repeat that a couple more times. And on this next one, we'll hold that stretch for a few more breaths. Trying to let go with each out breath. Coming back over onto your side. And then stretching out into a straight line. Place that arm by your side. Float the arm up above you. If it isn't comfortable or you've got any problems with your shoulder, you can keep your arm here, but if possible, ideally stretch out. Feel that stretch, draw in the tummy, draw in the ribs, and let's float that arm down and back. And just focus on trying not to wobble. You might want to start then with your fingertips on the floor to steady you, lift that top leg, and at this point you're just trying to think about not letting your ribs sink down. If you feel confident, float the top arm as well. Try to keep that arm and shoulder nice and soft, and watch that you're not letting your hips rock backwards. We'll just do that once more today. Bend the knees in and let that leg rest on the floor. So have a moment to just relax. Bring your feet and knees together and then come into position for clown. So as always, just make sure there's that little lift of the ribs underneath, the tummy is drawn in, and then we're going to float that top knee. And our main aim with this is not to let the hip rock backwards, so try to watch that hip is staying right up to the ceiling. Keep that tummy drawn in and those ribs lifted. And then whenever you're ready, just come down and have a little rest. If you wanted to, you could continue with your feet hovering, so climb level 2. But once again, just really make sure you're not allowing those ribs to sink, and watch out that that shoulder isn't just carrying any tension. And then let that leg rest again. And at that point, you might just want to reach your arm behind you and allow that leg to stretch out. A gentle stretch to the side of the hip. Coming over onto your side, coming up into sitting. We'll give our legs a little shake, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So swapping your cushion over. Arms together, palms stretched out, floating up and over. So nice and free and easy with this one, not worrying too much about technique, just gently mobilising. One more time, and then hold that stretch for a few more breaths. Try and relax into it. Coming over onto your side again. Stretching out into a straight line. Arm by your side, floating up. Feel that full body stretch, lengthen, and then float the arm down and back. And focus on trying not to wobble. Fingertips to the floor. Let that top leg lift. Keep both knees as straight as possible. And once again, if you feel able to, let the arm float. Imagine you've got an invisible piece of string tied from your fingers to your little toe, so watch that foot isn't left behind. And then when you're ready to rest, draw the knees in, leave that leg hanging on the floor, have a moment to recover. Bring your knees together again, come into position for climb. Tummy in, ribs lifted, floating that top knee. And then when you're ready, have a little rest. And once again, if you wanted to, climb level 2, feet hovering, floating that top leg. Making sure the ribs aren't sinking and the shoulder isn't tensing. One more time, and then let that leg relax. And if you want to, reach your arm behind you and just allow that hip to stretch gently. And at this point now, we can come over onto our tummy. Rest your head on your hands, and if you want to, bend your knees, give the feet a little wiggle, and then just imagine your legs are like windscreen wipers and let them swing side to side. Come back down again. If you can manage to hold on to your foot or reach your foot, then just pull your foot gently towards your bottom. Feel that pull in the front of the thigh, quadricep stretch. And then swap sides. Take hold of the other foot. Feel that gentle pull in the front of the thigh. And once again, take note if one side feels tighter. And then lower back down. At this point, the important thing is to really feel that you're pulling in your tummy. So you might arch your back a little more in this position. So consciously tuck that tailbone down. Draw in the tummy muscles, tighten the bottom. Keep the leg as straight as you can. And then we're just going to hover that leg off the floor, hold it for a few seconds, and lower back down again. So swimming level 1, lifting the other leg and lowering back down. So tighten the thigh, draw up that leg, don't let the knee bend. But our main focus is on not letting the back arch. So if you're quite flexible in your back, this is a challenge. You need to really draw in that core, and you may need to just keep your leg quite low. You should be feeling the work in your bottom muscles. If you're feeling it too much in your back, then just rest for a moment or keep the leg very low. Let's just do one more in each side. And then flop for a moment. Maybe give those ankles another wiggle. We're going to start to wind down now, so we're just going to come up onto our forearms and allow that back to extend gently. And then rest down, head to one side and feel that release. Come back up again onto your forearms, gentle extension for the back. Rest down and turn your head the other way. Coming up once more. If you're new to Pilates, maybe just repeat that again. If you're familiar, then this is just a good reminder that you might want to do the modified plank at this point. So drawing in that tummy, really feeling strong in the shoulders, lifting the hips, making sure that tailbone is tucked under, drawing those ribs down, keeping the chin tucked in, lengthening the neck, and holding it for as long as you feel you can do that fairly comfortably. Coming down and resting when you need to, and obviously you can repeat that if you want to. So for now we're going to come up onto our hands and knees. Just a simple class tonight, so we'll just sit back on our heels, stretch our arms out, feel that lengthening in the spine. If you can't sit all the way back, you can adapt this by sticking your bottom in the air. So do whatever feels best for you. And then we're just going to take our arms to one side. Feel that stretch down the other side of the body. Come back through the middle. Feel the stretch the other way. Come back to the centre. Pull that stretch once more, and then keeping your nose as low to the floor as you can, slowly roll up through your spine. Bring your knees together, and at this point, if you wanted to, you can tuck your toes under and roll back up into standing. So just a simple class to start with, just to help remind you of how you can keep yourself moving. Thank you and take care. Goodbye.